Hey comic fans, welcome back to Comic Book Corner 2.0. That's right guys, and today we are talking about Mike Spiderslayer's top 10 cartoons of all time. That's right. Uh, haven't, since I've started doing comics, I do love cartoons and things like that. And lately I've been doing like comic book countdowns each week. So I figured, hey, why not do my favorite top 10 cartoons that I've watched, going back all the way from, I don't know, 70s, 80s, and 90s stuff. So I just thought I'd do this video and share this with all you guys. So with that being said, let's just get started, all right? So my number 10 favorite cartoon is, that's right, Super Friends. I guess when you look at it, I guess that's where it all started it for me with comics and stuff. Because as far as I can remember, that's like the oldest superhero show that I have ever watched. And I don't remember like really any of the episodes because I was like maybe 4 or something like that. But all I remembered was that distinctive voice, you know. Meanwhile, at the Hall of Justice, and you got that thing and those little stars. And then you had um, who are those two? The Wonder Twin powers activate. I'll form a pale water, and I'll form a bird. And those two would always team up, and they got that monkey guy, and you obviously had your original characters and things, but I, I can only remember watching this when I was like in my aftercare school or whatever it was, and they had it on. But I just remember I was just like hooked on it. I was like, and maybe that's how my infatuation with superheroes and comics came to be. So there it is, number 10, Super Friends. So next on the list, number 9 is Yo Joe. That's right, guys. G.I. Joe, number 9. Maybe some of you might be a little bit surprised that this was my number 9 cartoon of all time. I remember distinctively watching this cartoon every single week it came out, but out of all the other cartoons that are out there, it just wasn't my favorite. Army things and like Marines and soldiers are not my favorite genre. It's always like space and robots and superheroes. So I think G.I. Joe was a little bit less on my high list, but nevertheless I watched it because it had some elements in there like Cobra Commander. I love that guy. I just wanted to know his face, the mysterious face behind the mask. I always wanted to find out. They made that TV made for movie, with the Emperor, Serpentor, and what else did they have in there? Oh, and they always had that message. Hey, the building's on fire. Well, don't go in it because you'll get burned alive. And now I know. And knowing is half the battle. G.I. Joe. So he always had that, message in there, with G.I. Joe. So always remembered it. Great characters. Destro, Zartan, all those types of characters. But it did fall number 9 on my list. So what's next? Number 8. Thunder. Thunder. Thundercats. Ho! How can you not remember that? Like, that thing must be embedded into my brain for my whole entire life. Thundercats. Not only was Thundercats cool, I love the insignia, which is like the cat and circle red thing deal. That was awesome. Lion-O was pretty cool. And what was it? The Sword of Lions? Was that what it was called? That thing was cool. Sword of Lions, give me sight. And what awesome sword is it that freaking sits there and grows every time you say thunder? It's pretty badass. Mumra, he was a cool ass character too. He's like this little mummy guy. He's like, "Bleh." And then all of a sudden he's like, I hate the Thundercats. And he's like, "Bleh," and he gets into this crazy Medusa-like hair shit. And oh, dude, that guy was insane. And you know what? I hate to say it, but when I was a kid, Chitara, hot. I don't know. There's something about the chick that I liked, I guess, when I was a kid. And, you had the little kids, and you had Snarf, and you had, like, their tank, and they had their, like, castle thing that they had. It was cool. It wasn't, like, kind of like anime or something like that. I don't know, or manga, whatever that shit is. But it was pretty cool. I liked the shows. I remember when I was a kid, I watched the very first episode. It was like a nighttime special type of thing. It was really cool. It was like this hour episode where it has the origin tale of our characters, and I remember ever since then I was just infatuated by that. And just briefly, like they kind of made like this spin-off thing, like where it was almost like Thundercats, and it was called Silverhawks. I don't know if you guys remember that, but Thundercats was a really cool TV show. Had all kinds of great stuff, and yeah, that made number 8 on my list. So, what's number 7? Number 7 was Batman the Animated Series. That series was really badass. How can you not forget that explosion at the beginning of each episode that you watched? And, and Batman going after those burglars. And I remember Warner Brothers did such a nice job with the animation in that show in the beginning. And Mark Hamill's voice as the Joker was really awesome. Harley Quinn, really great. I remember watching this one episode with Clayface, and I think this was one of the first times I was introduced to Clayface. And he's just like all over this guy, and it's like oozing out of his hands and shit. And I'm like, oh, dude, this guy's nuts. But some of these episodes were just like creepy, and now and it was like dark. And now like I see these episodes, and I watch the Hub. If you guys are able to get the Hub on your cable provider, they show a lot of great stuff. They show like Batman animated series, Batman Beyond. They show a lot of like old cartoons from my time, and it's great to see them again. The animations, you can tell it's older, but it has that classic feel and distinctive feel to it. But it was a great episode. I remember watching it after school. I think it came on right before the Animaniacs. So I love that show. It's a great show, and it's always interesting to see these characters like Poison Ivy and Catwoman. Like their characters were drawn so well, and they had that sex appeal. They had those nice faces. Great, great stuff. So I loved Batman the Animated Series, and that's what made number 7 on this list. So what made number 6? Number 6 was Batman Beyond. Dude, I love that show. That was made in like 1997 or 98, around there. And I was already in my 20s, I guess, at that time. But I love that show. It was something so distinctive from, the original Batman. Bruce Wayne's an old fart. He can't do battle anymore, but he still wants to be there. So he creates this suit for Terry McGinnis, and Terry is the one who winds up going on all of these missions, and Bruce is, in the eyes and the ears, and it was just spectacular to see. You get to see different characters and twists. You get to see like Joker type of style characters, but futuristic characters. They had kind of like their own lingo. I remember the intro to that series. It did have like some computer animation things, and had like rock music in it, and it had his girlfriend. I forgot his girlfriend dancing in it and stuff. And it was just a great series, and I just remember watching it like any time that I can. And same thing, that show is on the Hub now, so I watch that whenever I get time. Actually, before I do the before we go on the live show. It's on at 8:30 every night on the hub, and I watch it right before I go on online. So really original content on there, and I think it was uh, a series that I wish was on a little bit longer. But great stuff, and if you haven't watched Batman Beyond, go try to check it out because it has a lot of action, a lot of great stuff in there. So kick ass shit. So next on our list, I think we are at number 5 now. Number 5. That's right, Voltron, Defender Universe. Not the new Voltron shit, not all that crap, not that redone thing that's been done 3 times. It may not be bad, but I'm talking about the 80s shit. The shit that was like on uh like UHF and shit when I before, cable TV and all that stuff. Like I remember watching that when I was a young kid and I was like, Voltron, Defender of the Universe. Oh yeah, and it's the Lion Voltron. It's not the car Voltron. So no offense to all the people that like, little car vehicle Voltron shit. I like the fucking lions. The lions are awesome. They rock, dude. They just like green line, yellow line, black line, dude, that form the head, and then and I'll form the head. And the head was like the key thing, man. I love the head. When I was a kid, I'd always pretend that I was Voltron. And they're fighting the I forgot what they were called, the beast or whatever it was. And just when they're down and out, they're like, it's time to form Voltron. Interlocks go, blah, 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 blah. And you see that and he goes, form feet and legs. I'll form the torso and I'll form the head. And it was great. And then just like, again, when they're down and out, something like a blazing sword, and the 2 things would come out and just in it, and then all Voltron would do is just slice the battle beast or whatever it was in half, and that's it. Episode over. It was like the same thing over and over again, but you could not beat Voltron, man. It was cool, and then like the enemies were badass too, and oh man, and they had that witch and all that stuff. It was such a great TV series. Oh my god, I loved it. And again, they've redone this series a few times, and I've tried watching it. Not quite the same as the original because that's what I grew up to. But Voltron was an awesome concept, and uh, I loved it, and I couldn't say enough about it. And I haven't watched it since I was a kid, though, to tell you the truth. But that will always be embedded into my brain. So Voltron was number 5 on this list. So what's number 4? That's right, X-Men. Love my interpretation of the theme song. X-Men was such a great cartoon, dude. It was like the same time as SpiderMan cartoon, and it was on Fox. And I remember I used to watch that on Saturday morning, every Saturday. And this was like before I would go hang out with my friends. And I remember seeing the episodes with like Mr. Sinister, and I remember when they're stuck on the Savage Land, and just all the cool Sentinels. And that was the time when the like new X-Men team was just like reforming, and they separated into their own books, and it was just an awesome cartoon. And now I look at the animation today, I'm kind of like, wow, it's a little rough, but Wolverine was like, hey bud, and just you had Jubilee, and you had Rogue, and you had Storm obviously in there, and you had Beast, and the intro had all the introduction like to the characters and stuff. It was a fun cartoon. I remember enjoying that so much, and it was religious every Saturday, every Saturday, every Saturday. Great episodes in there. I wish I could remember more about it, but it was definitely a fun ride, and X-Men will always be one of those top cartoons on my list. So now we're moving on to the top 3. What's number 3? Spider-Man. Spider-Man. Radioactive Spider-Man. That's right, guys. Spider-Man, the 90s series. That series came out around 94, around there, 94, 95. I was like 18 already, graduating high school. And I remember that that series was the best Spider-Man series that I have seen in a while at that particular point in time. It kind of touched on everything that happened in the comics when it comes to Venom, Carnage, the Vulture, the Sinister Six. You gotta love Peter Parker's character in there. Mary Jane was nice. Aunt May. They had everybody. They had Shocker. They had you name it. That show pulled out all the pulled out all the stops. It had me, Mike Spider Slayer, or had Spider Slayer in there. It had all the characters. It was such a fun show. Even had Hydro Man. Like they made Hydro Man. Who makes Hydro Man in a cartoon? They did. That show was on for quite a while. They had Madam Web talking about like Spider Wars and all this stuff. It was such a classic type of Spider-Man show, and it touches everything. And I think it holds up today because it tells all those stories. And I think that's why I loved it so much. And I honestly don't think there has been a Spider-Man cartoon that good in a very, very long time. They've come out with what Spectacular Spider-Man, and they've come out with Ultimate Spider-Man, and they came out maybe with another show like MTV Spider-Man or something like that. But nothing has been as good as that as of late than that Spider-Man series. So I can still watch it today and just have just as much fun watching it today as I did when I watched it in the 90s. So that was number 3. What's number 2? It was really close, but it was Spider-Man and his amazing friends. Yes, that's right. Spider-Man and his amazing friends. That show, I think, is what got me in love with Spider-Man. That today, for me, is the best Spider-Man TV series or cartoon TV series that has ever come out. That show has got comic books written all over it. It even has Stan Lee doing some of the narration in the beginning of it. He's like, "Hey, true believers, we got this tale of old Spider-Man," and you got his voice in there, and it's got all these characters like Video Man and the Tale of Sandman and Electro, and it had the Shocker, the Beetle. It had everybody. The origin of Spidey, the origin of Firestar, the origin of Iceman. It had him when Iceman was with Wolverine and the X-Men. They had everybody in that show. That show was awesome. Bobby, Angelica, and Peter were my first true superheroes that I truly, truly loved. And I guess maybe Angelica was the first, female hero that I truly loved, because those characters were just so likable and so relatable on so many levels. And the tales were just astronomical. Like they talked about the Swarm. They had this one where it was called this guy that changed into this big spider, and I forgot his name off of my head, but it was just the tales were great. And Flash Thompson was in there, and he's like, Pewdie Parker, that stuff was awesome. It was so good. It was one of my favorite shows, and there is one show that is better than this, and it was really hard to make a choice, but this show, I can say religiously, I could not miss it if my life depended on it, and it was this show right here. Transformers, more than meets the eye. That's right, guys. Transformers is and always will be my favorite ever cartoon that I have ever watched, because at that age, I was not into comic books that much. I liked the superhero aspect, but I wasn't into comic books yet. I was into Transformers. And Transformers were just, oh my God, they're Transformers. They're freaking, they change into robots. And they were badass. They weren't like freaking GoBots. Like GoBots was like generic compared to Transformers. That show was garbage. Transformers was the shit. That show was awesome. That show had Megatron, Starscream, had the Constructicons, had the Dinobots, and you know they tried to redo like Generation 2 and Generation 3. They came out with the Beast Wars, and they came out with like all these other robot shows, and they still redo it today, which are okay, but nothing beats the original Transformers series. I mean, battles between Optimus Prime and Megatron were just relentless. They always went after each other. First time you ever saw the Constructicons? Come on, guys. You can't sit there and say the Constructicons were not badass. You got 5 robots or 6 robots, and they form into one big, giant, green-ass machine. That's fucking cool. And you can't compare them. Like, the Dinobots tried to take them on. I get it. They're dinosaurs. But, dude, Devastator, that guy was the shit. You can't stop him. He was the original combiner, man. Awesome stuff. And I remember that first episode that I ever saw. The shit was on Cybertron. He's on Cybertron, and you see Bumblebee in there transforming his little like flying spaceships thing, and Wheeljack was on there, and they're trying to, you know, go back to Ion to get with Prime, and they fall on Earth, and man, that show was so cool. And every Saturday at 7 o'clock in the morning, I would wake up, and I'm sitting there going, Transformers, Transformers. And when the movie came out, oh my God, don't even get me started into the movie. The movie was just badass. That shit was awesome. I'm sitting there going, oh my God, Megatron and Optimus Prime fighting for the last time, and Optimus Prime dies. You're like, what? I almost cried. I think I cried. And then like Unicron was in there, and Unicron was like this big planet robot that ate all these planets. You know, like, dude, what is up with that? And Starscream finally takes over the mantle just so he gets burnt. Dude, you can't beat Transformers. Transformers was awesome. That show was great. It was like revolutionary. It was so phenomenal. And they came out with all the toys. Oh my God, I could go on and on and on for Transformers. I remember when I was a kid and I had, for Christmas I got Jetfire, and I remember the box was like huge, and I still have a picture of it. I was like laying down, I'm like, dude, Jetfire! I was so happy. Greatest show ever, I thought. It is, for me as a child, it was actually Transformers. I loved the show so much. There's so many characters, just awesome, just great stuff, and so many things have spawned off of that, and I have nothing but great things to say about that show. So there you have it. There is my top 10 favorite cartoons of all time. Again, going back to the list, we got number 10 was Super Friends, number 9 was G.I. Joe, number 8 was Thundercats, ha! Number 7 was Batman the Animated Series, number 6 was Batman Beyond, number 5 was Voltron the Defender of the Universe, number 4 was X-Men, number 3 was SpiderMan the 90s cartoon, number 2 was SpiderMan and His Amazing Friends, and number 1 was Transformers. So there you have it, guys. Top 10 cartoons of all time. And guys, in the comments below, tell me what your favorite cartoons of all time was. Also, if you want me to do any other type of countdown videos, just let me know in the descriptions below. I can do movies, I can do toys, I can do anything you want, cereal, whatever it was. I would like to try to make this a regular thing upon request. So I had a good time doing it, and that's it, guys. So again, vote for me in the Geeky Awards for Best Comic Book Reviewer. And guys, until the next comic book review, this is Mike Spider Slayer signing off. And guys, I hope you enjoyed the countdown. So I'll see you guys real soon. Bye.